Hey everyone, this is Jim Horn, and this is another edition of Trevor's Talks. And today we're going to be listening to a report given by Cunningham Limp. These are the guys that are working on the Alpha project. And as I like to think about it, the big spend, but it's well needed. It's going to be an upgrade to the Grand Traverse County facilities for storage and emergency services and so forth and so on. Anyway, I thought two important aspects of the project is that how, where are we going to get the energy from the building? And number two, what happens if the building isn't sized right when we go in it, or in 5 years we need more room? So the Cunningham Limp people discuss that, and then the commissioners have a couple of comments. Anyway, glad you're along, folks. So here we go. Okay, here is the gentleman from Cunningham Limp.
Other items that were discussed and were brought up with commissioners in previous meetings were the return on investment for some of the green energy. We did evaluate the geothermal. The return on investment, 5 to 7 years. Estimated cost is anywhere between $240,000 to, let's say, $270,000. That would be for the EOC 911 facility. Solar panels, for consideration, I've mentioned before. Right now, we would look at, if you wanted an 80 kilowatt system, 13 to 15 year, and an estimated cost of $200,000 for that. It would be difficult to try to place that many panels on the roof of the EOC 911. We could certainly evaluate it, though. We may be able to do an option where we put some of them on the ground, some of them on the roof, even look at the option of putting something on the COB. So something to consider. Then we looked at the green roof option. We'd mentioned before, there's not really a return on investment. It's a great feature to have. It typically would extend the life of the roof, but some have pointed out that there's maintenance issues. It depends on the media that's used. Something that you want to consider us to do, we can certainly do it.
So here's Commissioner Andrews with some of her thoughts.
I strongly support geothermal. It makes sense economically, and it makes sense for non-economic reasons. And I share the other commissioners who have indicated that solar and green roofs shouldn't be taken off the table. Those, in addition to economics, 13 to 15 years on solar panels, when we've been talking for the last 6 months about a facility that better see us through the next 50 years, is a no-brainer, in my opinion. But I would also like to, it looks like that's for an 80 kilowatt solar array only for the EOC. We obviously are going to be seeing another even larger building going in right at the same time in parallel, and potentially other, structures coming down the line. To the extent that solar panels are a campus-wide approach, you've got potentially the ability to make that cost spread over a bigger area and generate more power that supports more buildings. And I would also like to see that conversation, which doesn't have to happen today, include battery backup, because obviously that really helps offset those costs during peak times, and is the more efficient way to have that power on demand when you need it for an emergency center.
So there you have it. Geothermal, solar, it's on the table and certainly being discussed, and the return on investment seems to make the commissioners happy about doing those two particular sources of green energy. The other issue that came up during a couple of the meetings was, what do we do about, how are we going to build this thing to make sure that we're not short-spaced after a certain length of time. Anyway, here's Cunningham Limp talking about what they've looked at and how the building can be expanded.
How could we do it? Certainly, we can easily add on to it to the north side. We can shift the Cobb building further south. Won't take away any of the building square footages. Won't affect our parking because we have plenty of room to the east. So that could be one feature to accommodate even a future bigger expansion if it was necessary down the road. Other option was we stretch it to the north a couple feet. We also accommodate inside the building a set of stairs that could go to a second floor mezzanine. Because you'll have to remember that this pre-engineered building has volume, so it has height to it. we can easily accommodate a mezzanine level in the future, or if you want it now, and fit it in the footprint of the existing or the proposed building that we're seeking approval from you for. So that can be accommodated. We could easily accommodate 5,000 to 7,000 square foot on a mezzanine level. We could easily accommodate putting some type of an elevator along with the set of stairs. We could size the columns inside the building footprint to easily expand down the road, adding above a area for a mezzanine. So that was the options that we discussed. We'll obviously have answers to questions that you might have regarding these options. We also looked at, go ahead.
If I could real quick.
Sure.
Sorry. Bobby Peplinski, also here with Cunningham Limp. Just another part of the evaluation that we went through. Coming out of last meeting, it was clear of consider what other storage needs may be needed if we were to consolidate other departments out there. So we went through a 2-step process there of 1, can it be done? And then 2, is it needed if it can be done? The answer to the first one of can it be done, Jerry was answering that yes, it can be done. There's room to expand on the current footprint, even with the current site plan that's there, that we could expand and get many more additional square feet.
Okay, there you have it. So the building is going to be built for the future if more space is needed, and I would imagine more space will be needed. But Commissioner Walter gave us some unusual insight, but certainly true, about what happens when you've got too much space. And then you're going to hear some discussion here at the end of this clip about how they're trying to get additional money through grants to help fund this project. So here you go.
The only downside to that is, when you create more space, there seems to be more boxes do pile up. That is kind of the issue with creating storage space to begin with, is there's more space for file cabinets to house things that don't need to be kept. So, but I think it's prudent to bump it up and give us the opportunity for that down the road. The other thing is I am interested in pursuing the green options. Thank you for clarifying that we have a little more time on the solar and the green roof to consider some grant funding. Now, is that a role that Cunningham Limp would take on in terms of pursuing grant funding, or is that somebody on staff who would look at grant funding possibilities related to these facilities?
We're doing it right now.
Okay.
We are right now looking at a congressional direct spending request that's supported by Senator Slotkin's office. Not green energy, but that's just an example of the work we're doing to go after grants. So yes, we are looking at. We had a great conversation the other week with Light and Power staff to learn about available rebates for that type of infrastructure, as well as they've shared information on what may be available through a state department like Eagle at this point.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I'm interested. It's not just I think it's important not just to look at the dollars, but there is a return. So that helps us to consider that choice. I think it's just the responsible direction to take in building any kind of a new facility. So thank you for that.
So there you have it, folks. A brief update on what's going on with the Alpha project, or as I mentioned, the big spend. And we'd like to keep you up to date on these things, but it's going to cost a lot of money. Anyway, listen, this is Traverse City, and the Cherry Festival is going on. Have yourself a great time, and we'll be back at you very soon.